Ever wonder why some people seem to effortlessly influence others, while most struggle to make an impact? The secret isn't just in what they say, but in how they understand and navigate the psychology of human behavior. From using someone's name in a conversation to create a personal connection, to leveraging the scarcity principle to drive action, these tactics can transform your interactions and elevate your personal development journey. By mastering these subtle yet powerful techniques, you can learn to read people like a book, turn small requests into major wins, and even guide others' actions without them realizing it. Ready to dive deep into the world of influence and discover how to truly optimize your existence? Let's get started. Ever been in a crowded room and suddenly someone drops your name into the conversation? It's like a magical spotlight turns on and you're instantly hooked. Name dropping, when done right, is a powerful tool for grabbing attention and making interactions feel personal and direct. Imagine you're at a networking event, and instead of a vague, "Hey you," someone says, "Hey Alex." Suddenly, you're engaged, your attention captured. This simple strategy can shift the dynamics of a conversation, making the other person feel seen and valued. Now let's be honest. We all crave a bit of personal recognition. It's human nature. Using someone's name isn't just a trick. It's a nod to their existence and relevance in that moment. It's like a mini dose of dopamine that boosts their mental well-being and can even reduce anxiety in social setting. As you practice this, you'll find it's not about manipulation, but about building genuine connection. Speaking of connections, there's another technique that goes hand in hand with name-dropping. Reflective listening. Reflective listening isn't just about nodding along and waiting for your turn to speak. It's a dance, a delicate balancing act between empathy and understanding. When you repeat what someone says in your own words, it shows you're not only listening, truly engaging with their thoughts and feeling. Imagine your friend is venting about a tough day at work, and instead of just saying, "I hear you," you say, "Sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed by all those deadlines." This simple shift can build trust and deepen your connection. But here's the kicker. Reflective listening isn't just for deep, emotional conversations. It's a skill that can transform even everyday interactions. Whether you're discussing philosophy, self-improvement, or digital minimalism, this technique can make others feel heard and valued. And when people feel valued, they're more likely to open up, creating a fertile ground for meaningful dialogue. Which brings us to our next strategy, positive reinforcement. Who doesn't love a little praise? Positive reinforcement is all about rewarding good behavior to encourage it to happen again. Think of it like giving yourself a pat on the back every time you manage to stick to your digital detox plan or practice Stoicism. It's a powerful tool in the personal development arsenal. By recognizing and celebrating small wins, we create a feedback loop of positivity that propels us forward. Imagine telling your friend, "I noticed how proactive you were in that meeting. Great job." That little boost can do wonders for their confidence. It's not just about doling out compliments, though. Timing is everything. Immediate praise can amplify the effect, creating a stronger association between the action and the reward. And here's where the magic happens. As you practice this with others, you'll notice a shift in your own mindset too. You start seeing opportunities, growth everywhere, more, making the journey toward personal success feel more attainable. Speaking of which, let's dive into the subtle art of mirroring. Mirroring is like a secret handshake between two minds. It's subtle, yet profoundly effective. By subtly copying another person's body language, gestures, or speech patterns, you build rapport and make conversations flow more comfortably. Imagine you're having a chat with someone who's really into existentialism. If they're leaning forward, you lean in too. If they're speaking softly, you lower your voice. This isn't about being a copycat. It's about creating a sense of alignment and understanding. Now, you might think this sounds a bit sneaky, but it's actually rooted in our psychology. We naturally mirror those we feel close to or want to connect with. It's like a nonverbal way of saying, "I'm with you." As you practice mirroring, you'll notice people becoming more open, more relaxed around you. And this paves the way for deeper, more meaningful interaction. Up next, we'll explore how the power of pauses can enhance your communication skills. Silence can speak volumes. The power of pauses in conversations is often underestimated, but it's a game changer for anyone looking to master the art of influence. Imagine you're negotiating a raise. Instead of filling the silence after you state your case, you pause. This gives your words weight, prompting deeper reflection and often concessions from the other party. It's like giving them a moment to feel the gravity of your point. But pauses aren't just for high-stakes moments. They're just as effective in everyday discussions about self-knowledge or personal growth. A well-timed pause can emphasize a point or allow others to fully process what's being said, fostering a more thoughtful and impactful exchange. And as you practice this, you'll find it naturally leads into our next topic: anchoring. Anchoring is all about setting the stage for negotiations or discussions by starting with a high number or extreme position. It creates a reference point that can sway the direction of the conversation in your favor. Think about walking into a store and seeing a high price tag on an item, then noticing it's on sale for much less. Suddenly, that sale price seems like a steal, even if it's still a bit pricey. This tactic works wonders in negotiations, or when you're trying to make a point seem more reasonable. Imagine you're negotiating your salary. You start by suggesting a figure that's higher than what you expect to receive. This anchors the conversation around that number, making any subsequent offers seem more favorable to you. It's not about being greedy, it's about positioning yourself effectively. And once you've anchored that high number, you can start employing other techniques, like the door in the face, to steer the discussion toward your goals. The door in the face technique might sound aggressive, but it's surprisingly effective in getting what you want by first asking for more than you expect. Start with a big request, something you know will likely be turned down. When it is, follow up with a smaller, more reasonable request. This creates a sense of obligation in the other person to say yes to the smaller request, since they feel they've already denied you once. It's a clever way to push boundaries without seeming pushy. Imagine asking your boss for a month-long vacation, something you know is over the top. When they decline, you follow up with a request for a week off. That smaller request now seems much more reasonable, increasing your chances of getting it approved. This technique taps into the psychology of reciprocity and compromise. As we practice this, we transition smoothly into the foot-in-the-door strategy, which takes a different approach to achieving the same end. The foot-in-the-door technique is all about starting small to achieve something bigger. It involves getting someone to agree to a minor request first, which increases the likelihood they'll comply with a larger request later on. Picture this. You ask a colleague to help you with a small, quick task. After they agree, they're more likely to say yes when you ask for a more significant favor down the line. It's about building momentum through commitment. This strategy is especially useful in personal development and self-improvement. For instance, if you're trying to develop new habits, start with small, manageable actions. Instead of committing to an hour of daily exercise, begin with just 5 minutes. Once you're in the habit of exercising for those 5 minutes, it's easier to gradually increase the time. This principle of small commitments can be a game changer in achieving your goals. And speaking of influence, let's delve into the power of social proof. Social proof is a psychological phenomenon where people assume the actions of others reflect the correct behavior in a given situation. It's like seeing a long line outside a restaurant and deciding the food must be fantastic because everyone else seems to think so. Mentioning that others support your idea or are already doing what you suggest can make people more likely to agree or follow suit. For example, if you're promoting a new approach to digital minimalism, citing how many people have successfully adopted it can boost its appeal. This concept is crucial in personal growth and self-improvement. If you're trying to cultivate new habits or behaviors, surrounding yourself with people who already embody those qualities can significantly influence your actions. It's the classic show, don't tell in social psychology. The more you see others thriving, the more motivated you become to emulate their success. Up next, we'll discuss a clever psychological trick known as the Benjamin Franklin effect. The Benjamin Franklin effect is an intriguing psychological phenomenon where asking someone for a small favor can actually make them more inclined to help you again in the future. It sounds counterintuitive, but when someone does you a small favor, their brain convinces them they must like you since they went out of their way to help. Imagine asking a colleague to borrow a book. After they lend it to you, they're more likely to do you another favor later on. This effect is perfect for building connections and improving social skills. By asking for small, reasonable favors, you're not just getting what you need, you're also laying the groundwork for a deeper, more reciprocal relationship. It's like planting seeds that will grow over time into a robust network of support and goodwill. And speaking of influencing behavior, let's explore the scarcity principle next. The scarcity principle is based on the idea that people value things more when they perceive them as being in limited supply. Whether it's a product with a limited edition label or a deadline on a great deal, scarcity creates urgency and a fear of missing out. Imagine you're hosting a workshop on self-development and you say there are only a few spots left. Suddenly, those spots become highly coveted and people are more eager to sign up. This principle can be a powerful motivator in personal growth and mental well-being too. Think about the finite nature of time and opportunities in life. Framing your personal development journey with this sense of urgency can propel you to take more proactive steps toward your goal. Instead of thinking, I have all the time in the world, you shift to, I need to act now to optimize my existence. This brings us to our next tactic, emotional labeling, which is all about navigating the emotional landscape, conversations. Emotional labeling involves acknowledging and naming the emotions that someone else might be feeling. This simple act can have a calming effect and foster more constructive conversation. Imagine you're in a tense meeting and you sense frustration brewing. By saying, it seems like there's some frustration around this topic, you help diffuse the tension. It shows empathy and creates a safe space for open dialogue. This technique is not just for conflict resolution. It's also valuable in everyday interactions. When discussing sensitive topics like anxiety or depression, using emotional labeling can help others feel understood and supported. It's about being proactive in recognizing emotions and guiding the conversation in a positive direction. Plus, it naturally leads us to our next principle, the reciprocity norm, which is about giving and receiving in relationships. The reciprocity norm is a fundamental principle in human interaction. When someone does something for us, we feel compelled to return the favor. It's why receiving a small gift or compliment often triggers an urge to reciprocate. Imagine a friend buys you a coffee. You might feel inclined to get them one next time. This principle can be incredibly powerful in both personal and professional settings, fostering a sense of goodwill and cooperation. In personal development, leveraging reciprocity can help build stronger, more supportive networks. When you offer genuine help or a kind gesture, you create a sense of connection and mutual respect. This doesn't mean you should give with the expectation of receiving, but rather understand that kindness often creates a ripple effect. Up next, we'll explore the Zinnik effect, a fascinating tactic for keeping others engaged and interested. The Zinnik effect is all about the power of leaving things unfinished to keep others engaged and curious. Think of it like a cliffhanger in a TV series. You're left hanging, desperate to know what happens next. In conversations or presentations, this technique can be used to maintain interest and engagement. For example, if you're leading a workshop on self-development, you might introduce a thought-provoking question but promise to answer it later. This keeps your audience hooked and attentive. In everyday life, you can use the Zinnik effect to pique curiosity and drive engagement in your personal relationships. Whether it's teasing an exciting piece of news or holding back a key detail in a story, the anticipation you create keeps people invested in the conversation. This strategy not only enhances engagement, but also helps build deeper connections as others remain eager to hear more from you. Speaking of guiding interactions, our next topic is pacing and leading, which offers another powerful tool for influence. Pacing and leading is a technique where you start by matching the other person's behavior and gradually guide them toward your desired outcome. It's a subtle way to build rapport and influence without coming across as pushy. Picture yourself in a conversation with a friend who's feeling down. You start by mirroring their tone and energy, showing empathy. Then, as you gain their trust, you gradually shift the conversation towards more positive topic, lifting their spirits. This approach is not just useful in personal interactions, but also in professional settings, such as negotiations or team meetings. By aligning yourself with others' behaviors and gently guiding the direction, you can steer conversations toward more productive outcome. It's all about finding common ground first, then leading the way. Next up, we'll explore the power of because and how giving reasons can dramatically increase compliance in requests.